We begin with a story that has dominated the headlines. The FBI announced on Thursday that two major operations, one involving the sharing of insider information for betting on NBA games, and the other centering on rigged poker games using high-tech cheating devices, have led to the arrest of more than 30 suspects.
There's so much information right now, you guys, going on about this gambling scandal. And to be fully transparent, there's too much information right now. I can't keep up with all of it. But what I will say is that members of Congress will not be satisfied until Adam Silver answers questions in a televised hearing under oath.
And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
The FBI just raided LeBron James's mansion, not for autographs, not for interviews. They came with search warrants, seized his phones, and walked out with boxes full of evidence that could destroy everything he's built. And now? Congress is demanding answers. They want NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to sit in front of cameras under oath and explain how the biggest gambling scandal in league history happened right under his nose. Over 30 people arrested, millions of dollars in illegal bets. Inside information leaked before games, and somehow all roads lead back to one name, the King.
Sources told the Post that Jones sent a message to one of the betting ring members on February 9, 2023, urging him to place a large bet on the Lakers' opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks, because James would be out with an injury.
This isn't about basketball anymore. This is about lies, loyalty, and a cover-up so big it could bring down the entire league. And the scary part, we're just getting started.
If when the NBA fails to protect the integrity of the game, Congress will step in to fill that void. Obviously, that would just get super messy if the government gets involved even more than they already are. But I will be interested to see if Adam Silver comes out and answers questions about this. If something's going on in the league, he normally will come out and at least do an interview or a press conference about it. And also, according to an ESPN report, prior to the start of this season, the NBA requested that betting partners FanDuel and DraftKings remove wager options that were susceptible to manipulation. And this was specifically missed free throws, turnovers, and fouls. And that is something, obviously, if you are a player and you're kind of in the inside and you're throwing games or you're helping somebody hit a line that they bet on, you can easily miss free throws, you can easily turn the ball over, and that was some of the lowlights that people were sharing about Terry Rozier. It seemed like some of his turnovers were really unforced and kind of stupid. And then fouls as well, like you can easily give fouls if you need them to. So according to ESPN, the NBA was trying to get FanDuel and DraftKings to remove some of those things.
Nobody saw this coming. For weeks, whispers floated around the NBA about suspicious betting patterns and insider information leaking before big games. Most fans brushed it off as typical conspiracy talk, but then everything exploded at once. Federal agents launched a massive coordinated takedown called Operation Nothing But Bet, sweeping through 11 states and arresting over 30 people in a single day. Former players, current athletes, and coaches were suddenly in handcuffs. Names like Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier started trending for all the wrong reasons, and the sports world went completely silent trying to process what just happened.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible.
The investigation started quietly. FBI agents had been tracking unusual betting activity for months, noticing patterns that didn't make sense. Someone with inside information was feeding tips to bettors right before games, and those bets were hitting way too often to be lucky guesses. The money trail led investigators straight into the NBA, and what they found was shocking. This wasn't just one person making bad choices. This was an organized network of people working together to rig games and profit from insider knowledge. Court documents revealed that someone had been leaking confidential injury reports, lineup changes, and player conditions to gamblers who knew exactly how to use that information. And the deeper investigators dug, the more names started appearing in their files.
Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese.
That's when everything changed. Pablo Torre, one of the most respected investigative reporters in sports, revealed he'd been quietly researching this scandal for 3 full months. And according to his sources, members of Congress aren't going to let this slide. They're demanding answers directly from Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner who's supposed to protect the integrity of the game. Torre's reporting made it clear that if the league doesn't step up and explain what's happening, the government will force them to. And that threat just made this situation 10 times more serious. Congress getting involved means this isn't just an NBA problem anymore, it's a national issue that could expose corruption at levels nobody wants to imagine. Here's where LeBron James enters the picture. Federal agents showed up at his Los Angeles mansion and his Ohio property with search warrants, seizing phones, laptops, computers, and stacks of financial documents. They weren't there to ask polite questions, they were there because investigators believe LeBron's name is connected to this scandal in ways that go beyond just knowing the wrong people. And the person who dragged him into this mess, his longtime friend and former teammate Damon Jones. Court filings revealed that Jones had been secretly feeding injury updates and insider information to bettors before major Lakers games. Prosecutors say he wasn't guessing. He had real-time access to player conditions, including LeBron's status, and he was selling that knowledge to people betting thousands of dollars on games. One specific example stands out. In February 2023, the Lakers were scheduled to play the Milwaukee Bucks. Hours before tip-off, investigators say Jones sent a text message urging someone to place a big bet on Milwaukee that night. Then just a few hours later, LeBron suddenly sat out the game claiming an ankle issue. The Bucks won easily, and the people who bet based on Jones's tip made serious money. Fans thought it was just bad luck at the time, but now, looking back, the timing feels way too perfect, and it gets even stranger. That game happened just 2 days after LeBron broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. The man was on top of the world, celebrating the biggest achievement of his career, and then suddenly he's sitting out the very next game while his friend is allegedly selling betting tips. Even if it was pure coincidence, investigators aren't buying it. Another game caught the FBI's attention too. In January 2024, the Lakers faced the Oklahoma City Thunder, and once again, Jones allegedly tipped off bettors right before LeBron was ruled out. The pattern was too obvious to ignore. Every time Jones sent out information, LeBron would mysteriously miss the game, and the bets would hit perfectly. Federal agents started asking the hard question nobody wants to hear. Was LeBron actually injured those nights, or was something else going on? The documents don't accuse him of anything yet, but the fact that investigators are even looking at his medical records and game day decisions shows how serious this has become. When FBI vehicles showed up outside LeBron's Brentwood mansion, the internet went absolutely wild. Videos and photos spread everywhere, and fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. The league tried to calm everyone down, insisting LeBron had no knowledge of what Damon Jones was doing. Sources told reporters that their friendship was strictly personal and that LeBron was as shocked as everyone else. But as the investigation kept growing, that story started falling apart. Federal documents revealed that agents weren't just watching Jones anymore, they were reading direct messages between him and LeBron, tracking their communication patterns and mapping out their entire relationship timeline. And then came the moment that changed everything. LeBron's name appeared on an official search warrant, not as a witness, not as a person of interest, but as someone whose property needed to be searched for evidence. That's when people realized this wasn't just about Damon Jones getting caught gambling. This was about a potential conspiracy that could involve one of the biggest names in sports history. The warrants mentioned something federal investigators rarely talk about publicly: coordination of privileged information. That phrase means they think multiple people were working together to share secrets that should have stayed private. And if LeBron knew what was happening, or even if he didn't stop it when he should have, the consequences could destroy his entire legacy. While all of this was unfolding, the NBA was scrambling behind the scenes trying to figure out how to respond. According to an ESPN report, the league had already noticed something was wrong months before the FBI made arrests. Early in the season, NBA officials quietly reached out to their betting partners, FanDuel and DraftKings, and asked them to remove certain types of bets from their platforms. Specifically, they wanted wagers on missed free throws, turnovers, and fouls taken off the board. Why? Because those are the easiest stats for a player to manipulate if they're trying to help someone hit a betting line. You can miss a free throw on purpose, you can turn the ball over without making it obvious, and you can commit a foul anytime you need to. The league knew these bet types were dangerous and they tried to shut them down before things got worse. But here's the problem: by the time the NBA made that request, the damage was already done. People had been placing those exact bets for months, and some players like Terry Rozier were starting to look suspicious. Clips of his games went viral showing turnovers that didn't make any sense, careless mistakes that seemed almost intentional. Fans started questioning whether he was throwing games on purpose, and when his name showed up in the federal arrests, those suspicions felt confirmed. The NBA's attempt to quietly fix the problem just made it look like they knew something shady was happening, and didn't do enough to stop it. That's exactly why Congress is stepping in now. Members of Congress aren't satisfied with the league's silence. They're not okay with Adam Silver staying quiet while one of the biggest scandals in sports history unfolds in real time. Pablo Torre's reporting made it clear that if Silver doesn't come forward and explain what the NBA knew and when they knew it, Congress will force him to testify under oath in a televised hearing, and that would be a disaster for the league. Imagine the commissioner of the NBA sitting in front of cameras, answering questions about corruption, gambling, and whether the league tried to cover up illegal activity. That's the kind of moment that doesn't just hurt the NBA. It changes how people see the entire sport. Adam Silver has always been seen as a smart, careful leader who protects the league's image, but right now, his silence is making things worse. Fans want answers, Congress wants transparency, and the longer he waits to speak, the more people start wondering what he's trying to hide. If the NBA really didn't know what was happening, then Silver should be able to say that clearly and explain exactly what the league is doing to make sure it never happens again. But if the league did know and chose to stay quiet, that's a completely different problem, one that could lead to lawsuits, investigations, and a loss of trust that might take years to rebuild. Meanwhile, LeBron James has gone completely silent. No interviews, no statements, no social media posts. For someone who spent his entire career building a brand around being open, honest, and connected to his fans, this silence feels strange. His legal team hasn't said a word, and the Lakers organization has refused to comment on anything related to the investigation. That kind of silence used to feel like strength, but now it feels calculated, like a strategy designed to control the story instead of clear his name. And every day that passes without an explanation just makes people more suspicious. LeBron has always been known for one thing beyond basketball: loyalty. He's kept the same close friends since childhood, brought them into his world, and made sure they were taken care of no matter how famous he became. That loyalty built his reputation as someone who never forgot where he came from, but now investigators are looking at that same loyalty as a possible problem. Did LeBron's trust in people like Damon Jones accidentally create an opening for insider information to leak out? Did his refusal to question his inner circle allow others to take advantage of his fame and access? Those are the questions federal agents are asking right now, and they're not easy ones to answer. Former teammates have quietly come forward saying LeBron was warned for years about some of the people he kept around. They say certain friends had messy financial ties and business connections that didn't add up. But LeBron always listened and then did nothing. So to him, loyalty wasn't just important, it was everything. And maybe that loyalty blinded him to what was really happening behind the scenes. Psychologists say fame at LeBron's level changes how people think about trust. When you're constantly surrounded by people who need you, it becomes almost impossible to tell who's really there for you and who's just using you. That's the world LeBron has lived in for 20 years, and it might be the exact reason he didn't see this coming. But the investigation isn't stopping at gambling. Sources say federal agents are also looking into LeBron's connections to certain figures in the entertainment industry, people who've been involved in their own legal troubles recently. One music mogul already sentenced to prison for financial crimes has seen his empire completely collapse, and now investigators are quietly asking if LeBron's social circle overlapped with that world in ways that could expose him to even bigger problems. An old Instagram live video resurfaced recently showing LeBron laughing with that same mogul, saying something that sounded harmless at the time but now feels loaded with meaning. People are replaying that clip over and over, analyzing every word, every smile, trying to figure out if there was something darker hidden in that moment. Federal investigators reportedly found overlapping names in financial records, guest lists from private events, and encrypted messages that connect athletes, producers, and business figures in ways nobody expected. LeBron hasn't been charged with anything, and officials are being extremely careful with their words. But insiders say his name came up in discussions about celebrity guest lists tied to events that were later described in court as far more troubling than they appeared online. Whether LeBron attended those events or just knew people who did remains unclear, but in a case this big, even being mentioned in the same sentence as those allegations is enough to damage a reputation that took decades to build. Two major brands have already quietly paused active endorsement deals with LeBron, and more could follow depending on what investigators find next. PR teams are panicking, lawyers are whispering, and sponsors are watching every headline, waiting to see if this scandal gets worse before it gets better. The question everyone's asking isn't about Damon Jones anymore, it's about LeBron. What did he really know? And if he didn't know, should he have? For nearly 20 years, LeBron James was the gold standard of discipline and control. He built an empire on precision, planning every move, polishing every image. From global endorsements to activism to family branding, he created the blueprint for modern fame. But now that empire is shaking. Federal subpoenas, congressional demands, and shadowy whispers from inside fallen entertainment circles are threatening everything he worked for. People are starting to ask the question nobody wants to say out loud. Was his loyalty pushed too far? Or are we watching the early stages of something even bigger? A cover-up that could flip the entire story upside down. The truth hasn't come out yet, but when it does, it might change everything we thought we knew about fame, power, and trust in professional sports. Adam Silver will eventually have to speak. Congress will keep pushing, and LeBron will have to decide whether his silence is protecting him or making things worse. Right now, the basketball world is holding its breath, waiting to see if the king can survive the biggest storm of his life, or if this scandal will be the one thing that finally brings him down. So what do you think is really going on here? Is LeBron's silence a smart legal strategy, or does it mean he's hiding something bigger? Do you believe Congress should force Adam Silver to testify, or should the NBA be allowed to handle this privately? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think about this whole mess. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Subscribe if you're new here, because we're covering every twist and turn as this scandal keeps unfolding. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.